Hi guys, been playing the Diablo 4 Season 10 PTR. I really enjoyed the Druid during Season 9, so I decided that I was going to try out the brand new Storm Crow Druid, which has been brought in Season 10 with a whole load of bug fixes, which will basically allow it to work full stop. And there are some bugs, as I will demonstrate, but this build will absolutely be viable. I don't know if it'll be S tier against everything else because there's just far too much variation right now for me to be able to say that this would be the top build. But this is going to do well over pit 100 once we come to Season 10, and I can demonstrate that I've done a 130 on this build without the main major infinite scaling bug, which I'll demonstrate in a second. So for starters, I'll just show you the sort of damage I do on my version of the build without the wild rage aspect, which is the main offender, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment. So this is doing, as you can see, many billions, trillions of damage. So this has got one probable likely bug in there, which will likely get fixed, and that is one of the new powers. It's scaling the damage far more than it should do, but without this power on, I still did a pit 100, and my gear is subpar. I was at about Paragon 200, and all my glyphs were about level 46 or below. So the power, as long as it doesn't get fundamentally completely changed, will absolutely go ahead and make the build stronger. So this will push it into 105, 110, and so on, and there's room for improvement on the build, as we can see. So the one aspect that's really breaking Storm Crow right now, which you might have seen in other videos, is the wild rage aspect, which is here. It's the one they changed so that when you cast a companion skill, it has a chance to activate another companion skill that's on your hotbar and reduce its cooldown. Now, if you only have ravens on your hotbar and it's got a cooldown of 0, what I believe this is doing is it's reducing that cooldown below 0. And that has ended up causing the damage numbers to go absolutely bonkers, as you'll see here. So if I literally just straight take off that ring and do exactly what I just did, you will see the numbers infinitely scale into infinite pretty much immediately. And this will absolutely get fixed. Like, this is obviously completely broken. So I have not used that in any of my testing because that was just pointless. So I've taken that one off. The other one that's probably going to get a fix of some kind is one that I saw when I was theory crafting before the PTR went live, and that's overabundance here. And it's a druid specific power, and it's every 50 spirit you generate above your maximum increases your damage by 20% multiplicative. This seems to scale your damage percent number by significantly larger than you should be getting. It's meant to stack but not refresh, so however quickly you can generate spirit above your minimum, you will be able to get damage. So if this stayed the same but the number scaling gets fixed, we would probably get somewhere in the region of 100 to 280% multiplicative damage, depending on kind of like how much spirit gen you've got and how good your gear is. So it would still be very good for your build, but at the moment, as I can demonstrate here, you'll see the attack power is not a very good indicator, but when it goes into the millions and exceeds the string, this is obviously very broken. And then if I go over here and get the stats up as well, you will see in the all damage value here that is going into the giga millions, which is obviously completely broken. So I hope this gets fixed to some degree because this is obviously completely busted. But as I say, unless they fundamentally change how this works, you will still be able to get a decent amount of damage out of this tech, and it will still push you firmly into the hundreds on the pit pushing. As you'll see, my gear is not perfect. And just to clarify again, I did a pit 100 on this build without that power on, full stop, with worse glyphs, worst aspects, and all sorts. So this build will easily do a pit 100 without any bugs. I believe everything else I had on my build prior to that power being on was allowing me to do that stuff. So I can demonstrate here. If I take that power off, just flat take it off, and then come over here, you'll see that the attack power numbers don't go completely balmy anymore. The all damage doesn't go completely stupid, but then we still are doing billions. Like we still hit up to hundreds of billions here, even without it. So with the extra bonuses we could do on this build and the extra damage scaling left in the build to go, we could easily get this to pit 105, 110, I reckon, maybe even higher. There's probably room for optimization on the build. I've put this together pretty quickly, honestly. And I noticed that power's busted. So this build is still very good. I believe everything else that's here right now is absolutely as it should be mathematically. So it's only that power that's kind of a bit busted. So we'll put that back on. What I'll do is I'll quickly run you through what I've got, if you're interested, and then I'll be interested to hear what you think about the build. Leave some comments down below. I appreciate that some people might be a bit upset because I've displayed this so it will get fixed for the main season, but honestly, we don't want infinite damage bugs once we get to the main season. They're fun to play in the PTR, but it'll be good to get the big ones fixed. This build is super fun. It's, as you can see, I've only got 4 skills on the bar. It's very, very simple to play. It's not that difficult to build, and you can build your entire Paragon board by my level. By Paragon 200, about Paragon 200, you can get everything you need, and everything else is just a bonus. So it's actually a pretty trivial build. Bit of a slow leveler to start with, but afterwards, once you get it going, it's pretty good. So I'll quickly run you through the build here, and we'll run you through. So we are using the Gatherin's Birthright. So this is a human crow build, which I'm really happy about because I haven't been able to play a human druid since we had like Windshear Druid in season 4. It's been a while since we've been able to do one of those, so I've always wanted to make this helm work. Once you get enough lucky hit and crit chance on this build, this works really well. And as you can see, I've got a 1 GA and it's not even a perfect aspect, and the better the aspect, the better this is. You will be activating your Anima of the Forest, and that is very key, as I'll go into later, because it allows you to have 3 key passives at once, which is very good. And this is how you get your movement speed. I run very slow right now, but with a GA movement speed here and the other bits, you'll be able to get yourself to the 200% mark. We're using a single GA Shroud in for all stats. You could viably go into resource gen here as well, would actually be very good because of that power, unless that overabundance gets changed, so we'll have to see. But as you can see, this is an achievable Shroud of False Death. It isn't a 4GA one, which would be unachievable. This is a gloves with, I got lucky, I rolled a core skills in the Obel vendor, but other than that, again, it's just a single GA. I've tried to keep the gear as sensible as possible, unless I was very lucky. Raven attack speed, I think it helps this build a lot. I need to do some more testing. Overpower's not overly useful. Crit damage would have been better, but this is what I rolled. And as you can see, we've got the Earthen Might key passives. Also applies to your Storm skills here. This is very important because one of the key passives we're activating using the Gatherin's Birthright only applies to your Earth skills. This allows you to unlock the ability for your Storm Crows to play into that and get the extra damage as well, and to give you crazy spirit gen. So this is very important. It's a bit annoying that it's an offensive that doesn't give you any actual offensive damage, but this does unlock a lot of power, so it is worth putting in. We've gone for a legendary pants here, mainly because when I was testing and bringing this up, I was like trying to work out how you get your armor up, how do you keep Earthen Bulwark up. So I've taken this mainly for the aspect. Earthen Bulwark, you're manually casting it, it allows you 9-second window rather than 3, and that barrier is quite key to you staying alive in the higher pits. But honestly, there is room to suggest we could possibly put another unique here, such as like Banished Lords. If you just wanted to go all in on damage, possible we could make that work, but you would need to find somewhere else to put the Raven's active size, or I guess you could just go without the extra size. But as you can see here, if you get a perfect roll on Raven's active size with a triple in it, you can get 99% increased size, which is basically a cap. And I got lucky, I got the max roll and I got the triple. So again, 1 GA, not too bad. Ideally, you'll roll the Kill to Blackwing, which is the new unique for Ravens, into your boots, because it needs to go into an armor slot, preferably not an offensive slot. And obviously, the Gatherin's Birthright cannot move from the helm. That is one of the uniques that cannot be moved, and we want the Shroud of False Death. So we move into the boots so we get the better aspects here. And honestly, you don't need to roll any crits into Raven's deal double damage here, so long as when you roll it on your weapon and your focus, or if you roll a two-handed weapon instead, that you roll a decent number there. The reason I've rolled crits there is just because I didn't roll very good values on my other weapons. So to get to 100%, I needed 2 rolls here. But I mathed it. If you had a GA here and you went to Master at 12 and you had a near max roll on both of these slots or on your two-handed, you would hit 100. So then you could roll all of your crits into Ravens. And on this build, you do not care about Ravens cooldown reduction particularly, not this season anyway. So this is very good. This totally makes the build it totally transforms the build into another stratosphere. So you'll definitely want to get this. You'll probably get this as in your pants first. That's totally fine. Just roll everything here on the pants down on the boots, except for the Earthen Bulwark stuff. So you'll just have to figure out your defenses. But while you're leveling up, that would be fine. Just getting that unique would be very key. Going on to the sword. I chose sword here because I was testing out a two-handed, but I then went into the idea of I wanted to get to 100% Raven's lucky hit chance, and it's easier to do that with a totem, and you can get cooldown over there. I was also testing out a load of capping out your max spirit and trying out another one of the powers, so I ended up playing into single hand and totem here. But I got lucky with a 2GA here, I guess, from the vendor, but I've got willpower, max life, crit damage, and then you just roll crit damage and Raven's double damage. And I've rolled Storm Crows here because we want to put Shepherds on the amulet, which is just super powerful to get the biggest bang for our buck out of the Shepherds aspect, where we're scaling all of the companions everywhere. Storm Crows here is mainly used so that we can convert them to lightning. They get the storm tag, they do their active damage in half the time and stun them and all sorts, so it's just really, really powerful for the build. The totem, I got lucky here as well. I got a double GA lucky hit cooldown, which is really ideal. I tried a lot of variations, but on this build I've ended up landing on willpower lucky hit cooldown. This helps with the petrifying the earth and bulwark. It helps you get towards your 100% Raven's lucky hit chance, and the willpower is just obviously good, and it comes with natural lucky hit chance on it. Double Ravens hit temper and crit damage again, because you're just stacking crit damage everywhere. Stampede here is pretty much a must-have for any of the companion druid builds, because you get your extra one additional companion. The multiplicative damage is nice as well, but that extra one additional companion across all of your companions just gives you loads of extra damage from Shepherds. Going to the amulet, an ideal GG amulet would be willpower, clarity, and Call of Wild. Now, clarity is one of the passives we never used with companions much before, because it's when you cast your companion skill, it would scale the damage of your next wrath or core skill. But now that we've made our companion skills core skills, it scales itself. So you use it 3 times and it gets to the maximum, and 3 ranks of this plus your shroud pretty much makes it so that you can cap your crit chance and you get a crazy amount of damage from it as well. It's incredibly powerful. So that plus Call of the Wild and willpower would be GG. I didn't get lucky enough to get that, but I got the willpower and Call of Wild, and that was what I've used for all of my tests. Raven's attack speed again, and petrify cooldown. There is a world where if we didn't need the petrify cooldown, we could put resource gen here, as long as overabundance in the powers doesn't change. That is something I will test once we get to the full version, assuming that stays the same. And as I say, Shepherds is on here because that's just probably the most powerful damage scaling aspect for any of the companion druid builds. On the ring, we've gone for willpower, max life, attack speed. You do want some max life on this build, otherwise you'll just be too squishy. And the attack speed's key. You want to get to 100%, including your Anima of the Forest, 15% attack speed here. I rolled damage to distance here. Once you get to glyph 100, you would probably not need that. You could probably go crit damage, but while you're leveling damage to distance, just helps you cap out your Paragon nodes down here in Thunderstruck. That allows you to get your 60x there a bit quicker, so I highly recommend that. And then the petrify cooldown again, could go resource gen. Now I put retaliation in here because I'm pretty much perma fortified, and this is one of the highest damage scalings, and now our skills are cores. This gives us loads of damage, so this was pretty solid here. But you could put any damage scaling aspects in here. There are a few you could choose from. Some are slightly higher, some are slightly lower. It depends what you want, really. Because we are spending resource now rather than a cooldown, the Ring of Stardust obviously goes here. Core skills, attack speed, crit chance, lucky hit, all very good for us. Halving the amount of resource we spend and scaling our damage. This is all round just really, really good for the build. So absolutely going on. And that's pretty much the gear. In terms of sockables, if you go for the one-hander and totem, crit gems. If you go for the two-hander, I'd probably put in 2 runes, so you could go more willpower in your armors. But on this setup, you go for 2 willpowers, and then I've taken Seer and Say, which allows you to have 6 wolves up pretty much all the time, and then that on top of your other companions activates your Nagu all the time. And I've put the Lum rune in here, and the reason for that is the Nagu activates every 5 seconds with an obscene amount of offering compared to what Lum needs, so it generates a really large amount of resource. And the reason that's important is because of the overabundance power. So even if that was scaling correctly, it would still give us a really decent damage multiplier based out of our powers, which there aren't that many others we could make use of very easily. I tried the others, it's pretty hard in this build otherwise. And then we just take diamonds across our jewelry to cap our resistances, because armor's pretty easy to cap on this when you stick it in your pants, and you've got it on the Gathlin's Birthright as well. So that's pretty much the gear. And as I say, you're pretty much running 100% crit chance after your skill tree. Your attack speeds are 100%. Your resistances are capped at 85% because of the powers. Your armor's capped well over because of the powers and so on. So I guess since we mentioned the powers, we'll go to them. We're using Savagery. There is a room that people were saying that they might end up going for a Beast Cornered. If you use that in conjunction with Marred Guard, yes, that would give you 100x damage or more and damage reduction and such. But this here, it just unlocks so much power because your companions become core skills. You can't not take it. And it's 60x damage and it allows all of that, all the interactions as the companion as a core skill. And then we've taken Marred Guard because although it halves the amount of life we can get, the maximum life is still the same. So our barrier becomes our effective life pool, and this allows us to get 100% barrier through Earthen Bulwark after 2 points is put in it. Allows us to cap our Fortify super easily. It allows us to cap our armor really easy and gets us to 85 all res super easy. So this is just all round real nice. And then we're taking Accelerating Chaos just for a bit of cooldown everywhere because we've got so much lucky hit. And as I say, Overabundance is very, very good as damage goes. As long, I mean, if this gets changed, then I guess we won't use it. But for now, this, if it stays the same and then just gets mathematically fixed, this will still be very good for the build. I did try Power Siphon, which theoretically would give you a lot more damage, but it just becomes infinitely difficult to try and sustain your resource with this. I tried it, so there is a world where if someone could figure out how to do that, this would work. But I tried just about every combo I could think of, and it was still tricky to keep it going. And at the moment, Overabundance is just very, very strong, honestly. So it's hard to tell exactly which one would end up being better. But for now, this one allows you to permacast without worrying about Spirit at all, which allows you to solve some other things. So that's kind of nice. Mercenaries, I'm running Rahir and Variana, but if I'd leveled up Subo, I would run Subo with movement and crit damage scaling here. Variana for Bloodthirst on combat use. In terms of skill tree, we're pretty much, we don't care about the basic skills. We take 2 there. We come in here for the core skill, damaging wild impulses. We take all the points up here into preserving cyclone armor. This is for if you want to pull in the enemies and get damage reduction, or you could swap this out and put it in innate for the extra damage if you want, which is probably what you would do if you're really pit pushing and you're defensive enough. You take 2 points up here in Earthen Bulwark to get the unstoppable. In an ideal world, you'd find another point to put in here to get the 100% barrier, but I've only got 1 right now. We've capped out Ancestral Fortitude, but maybe you could take one of those out later when you've got enough Paragon to put it in here instead. We've taken Backlash for the extra damage on defensive skills because you're aiming to smash Earthen Bulwark pretty regularly by the time you get to the state this builds in. Coming down into Companions, max out Ravens, come down to get the 2 additional Ravens. That scales up on your Shepherds and gives you more Ravens attacking, which is always good. We come up here in your Wolves for the Fortify, because with the Say rune, you basically get 100% lucky hit on them, so you'll just generate it. And with the doubling up of the Fortify and the power, you're going to be fortified permanently because of your Wolves. So this is very, very strong. And then we take all of the damage nodes because they all work. Call of the Wild, Feral Aptitude, Nature's Reach when you're standing far enough away. It's massively huge. Humanity is really strong for us with damage reduction and damage, and Clarity, which as I say, because your companions are now core skills, they now just scale themselves up in both critical chance and crit damage. And as you can see on 5 ranks, 75% crit chance, 75% damage. This is huge. One thing I didn't mention before that's also another bug in PTR and will affect all builds, Shroud seems to be giving +2 to all passives right now, not +1. So that would be a little bit of a reduction on this build and any other build pretty much that uses it, which will be most. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. So that's why you see +5 here rather than 4. So that would be a bit of a reduction, but that will be countered elsewhere, I think, because I'm missing some pretty key damage anyway in certain places. Coming down here, Envenom, we're poisoning them, loads of crit damage, great for us. And then we come up here, Elemental Exposure, and then Electric Shock, because we want the extra damage here. And, we've already got enough, even with just 1 point in these would be fine. So that gives us the Vulnerable, it gives us the Immobilizes, and so on and so on. Come down into the ultimates, max out Petrify. We use Petrify because it generates a spirit. This is great for that power. We use it because it resets our other cooldowns. This is great for our Earthen Bulwark. And it multiplies our crit damage, and you can get it to reset itself pretty quickly later on. And it's just all round, for a human build, this is pretty solid. We take pretty much all the damage nodes here for now, and you get 3 in Circle of Life here anyway for my contributions at 1 point. This gives you some sustain when you're casting, and you're casting very fast. You'll have loads of sustain. We've maxed out Catastrophe for the damage, And then we put our point into 1 with nature, which means when the Gathan's Birthright Helm is playing, we get 1 with nature, and we get Perfect Storm, and we get Earthen Might. It's all real nice. So that's the skill tree. Paragons, starter tree with human, and eventually you can max that out to about 105 willpower. We come into the Untamed tree because it's companion build, and we stick in Keeper. And we take everything except the cooldown reduction over here because we don't need this on this build, so we can save some points. And it's easy to activate the Keeper runes, so we get all of this stuff and the lucky hit. We come straight through into Thunderstruck. Ignore the crit chance node and the resistance nodes here because you can just avoid them for now. And you can stick in the Earth and Sky rune. This will help. At a level 100, this will scale these magic nodes to cap this at 60, along with these. But for now, with the ring affix, you can just cap it with this. So this is very strong. We come up into Sinister Tendrils for lucky hits to make enemies poisoned and deal damage to them. And originally I put the other glyph in here, Electrocution, because it's harder to activate Electrocution up here until it's expanded its radius. And then you have Spirit up here instead. So I'd put Electrocution in here and activate it as minimally as you can, taking all the main clusters that you can on the way. And then I came into Ancestral Guidance. There is a world where you could say that the other poison board might be better, but Ancestral Guidance is still pretty solid. You can come in here, activate Electrocution really easily. It gives you a whole load of core damage, which is pretty strong. Resource Gen's really good for us, loads of resistances and stuff, and then, yeah, you get your node here. So it's all around a pretty easy board to activate, so that's how I've gone. I will need to play around and optimize otherwise to see how it comes out. I think, Spirit Boons. Yes, we have Spirit Boons as well, of course. So for Deers, I landed on reduced damage from elites up here because you don't actually need Spirit Gen. Eventually, you actually want as little max spirit as you possibly can. So with overabundance, so that you can go above it easier the more you generate. So that's why we've gone for the reduced damage here. You could take the movement speed as well if you feel a bit slow and you feel tanky enough. But yeah, the damage reduction seemed really useful. In terms of the Eagle Tree, I've taken crit chance and lucky hit chance here. This is to help us cap our lucky hit chance and then the crit strike damage. I did take the attack speed while leveling up until I got the items for it. So it might be worth taking that first and then playing into Scythe Talons. Coming down into the Wolf Tree, we've gone for Energize. This, with the amount of lucky hit we've got, you just constantly refilling your spirit. It's completely bananas. And then you come down to Snake. While leveling, I used Overload before I got the ability to poison otherwise. And then once I got that, I went straight into Calm before the Storm. This, with the amount of lucky hit we've got, reduces our Petrify cooldown like no tomorrow. So it's very strong. So overall, I think that is pretty much the covering of the builds. And yeah, I'll leave in the description below the build planner link. And if you've got anything you would like to say about the builds, or if you've got any comments, just leave them down below, guys. I'll get back to you when I can. And yeah, until next time, guys. See you in the next video.